But I was talking about the Burwood Ironworks. Now they would have supplied the big ironworks at Heathfield with raw materials, bloomers of iron, etc, etc. And there I think you'll find there is a direct link with the family of Mad Jack Fuller, because part of the Fuller fortune was made on iron, and the Fuller family had the big works at Heathfield where they employed almost the whole population, I should think, at one time. But now this is more like a river that I would expect to find. This is the Rother as it flows down It's only 6:20 in the morning, it's getting busy already. Yes, underneath here and heads down towards Robertsbridge. I can hear a trickling. There is a flow. We can hear it even if we can't see it. But there is a definite flow there. So we find Etchingham. The river is once more looking like a little river. And looking at how far up it was navigable, it's generally been accepted that nowadays it's navigable as far as Bodgham, but there was a time when things could get as far as Robertsbridge. There have been reports in Roman and Saxon times that small vessels got upstream as far as here, but you can remember that was a long time ago, and the valley and the river was probably quite a bit wider then, before it all began to silt up. But anyway, you don't want to keep looking at the iron railings, so we'll move on. But looking at these trees, look at them. Are they trees or are they ents? If only they could talk, eh? Because that one has obviously been around a while. Look at that. Look at that tree trunk. And there's another little one down here. I say little. That's probably a few hundred years old. Lovely. Now, you couldn't come to Robertsbridge for the last two bridges of this morning's filming without visiting Robertsbridge station. Here's the old good shed. We're now a garden machine centre, and it's now isolated because the road in and out the station has been built round it. But over there is the main line station. But here is a magnificent new railway station that's being constructed. You can see the water crane there, and this is the end of the platform for the Rother Valley Railway. Now finally the public inquiry for the Transport and Works order gets underway very shortly, when hopefully Grant Shapps will say yes, you can build the last 2 miles and link up with the Kent and East Sussex Railway at Junction Road and run your trains all the way through. That is the hope. Unfortunately, negotiations with 2 landowners seem to have yet to reach fruition. It would be a great shame, I think, if the compulsory purchase powers given with the TWO mean that they have to have their land, as they would see it, stolen from them. And you can certainly sympathise with their point of view. But this is a really turned into a lovely place, isn't it? We couldn't get access to the original bay platform. That is now a run-in from the main line, which actually then has a spur linking it to the Rother Valley. And they built this lovely new place, Robertsbridge Junction, which will eventually have, I think, carriage sheds and an engine shed. I won't go any further up, and I'll just zoom up to that lovely station running inboard there. The important thing is, if it's granted, the money is there to build it. The equipment is there to build it. That building that you see there is all that's been built at the moment. It's actually very posh toilets, because the station is open at weekends for people to come and have a look at. And there's all the bricks and everything needed to start extending the main station building further along. So everything's ready to go. And we just need Mr. Shaps to say, yes you can. Like I said, unfortunately, while I think of it, there is the main British Railway station building. There it is. Yes, as I say, it would be a great shame if they had to use powers of compulsory purchase. Nobody wins in that situation, not really, except maybe the passengers. But I mean, I'm a member of the Kent and East Sussex. I would love the line to be joined up and we can run trains right the way through from Tenterton to Robertsbridge again. But it does irk at your conscience a little bit, because you can understand how people would feel having bought the land after the railway closed, and then all of a sudden somebody says, oh, by the way, we're going to put the railway back through the middle of your land. I don't think I would like it. You always hope for a negotiated solution, and I can only hope that they find one in this case. But there you go. This is what this end will look like. Let's see what happens. Now, the first records of dwellings or civilization here in Robertsbridge would seem to date back to about 1176, when the Cistercian monks founded an abbey here, which is a surprise to me because I didn't know an abbey had been losted, but there you go. And it's reputed to have been on this particular site here, encompassing the ground of what is now covered by the George Inn and the War Memorial. Various bits of the abbey are said to be incorporated in some of the older buildings around the village, and apparently there's quite a few bits of old stone and what have you dotted about if you care to go looking for them, which I don't have time to do on this video, sorry. Pretty little village, Robertsbridge. And some lovely old buildings as you go down the road there. And just imagine how busy this would be now if this was still the A21. Yeah. The baker's van has just arrived to deliver the morning goods. And I'm going to take a walk. What have we got here? The United Reformed Church, which I suspect, looking at the architecture, was maybe a Baptist chapel, 1881. There we go. And I'm going to take a walk along the high pavement and have a look at the buildings up that end. lovely smells coming out of that baker's van. This wisteria here, isn't that nice? Some of these buildings have got some age to them, look. I'm not going to walk up here too far, but Robertsbridge was probably one of the last places where there was a remnant of the iron industry. The Sydney family were making steel here, and that business lasted just a few years longer than the ironworks. Now the George Inn, there we see the George Inn. That has long been the fair stage and timing point for the buses in the village. And we see there the War Memorial, and coming this way the village sign. There we are. I don't want to walk any further because that chap, I don't know what kind of reception I'm going to get. But there's a nice design at the top of the War Memorial, look. It's meant to be a clock, but it's quite bright for 3:05 in the morning. I'm just going to come along here just a little bit further because I must show you that house there. Look at that. Now that is history. And this is what you don't see when you're driving along the A21. Now I just had to stop here and show you the bakery again. Look at that with the wisteria, I would guess, all over it. Origin, Georgian maybe. What a place to have a bakery and a little shop. Lovely. Well, I'm now in the clappers. I wonder if it's any good at running. And the River Rother seems to split into two here. So we're looking at two bridges. Except this one seems to be just nothing to do with the Rother. I quite thought it had been split into two, unless it comes through from the right. But this seems more like flood relief, to be honest. Although this bridge here would suggest it's been... Yeah, you see what I mean? There's evidence of a flow along there. You can see a river of sorts. But, curious. Very curious. Oh well. Back along the clappers. Definitely not running though. Tell you what, I'm beginning to feel hungry. Really going to have to go home for my breakfast soon. There's another little bridge here. I almost get the impression that this land has been filled in over many years. Looking at it, obviously, you see, and there's this local cricket ground, but still here for the floodwater to run off, because again you have this older looking bridge this side, and a dried up watercourse. Interesting. But we're here in North Bridge Street now, and this is as far in this direction as the Rother Valley Railway comes, following its old course. Once we get permission to extend over the level crossing, and on his way through that lot, actually to one side, I think you'll find the railway will go round to the north side of these trees, but that's where it will go towards joining up. And I think, just looking across the road there, I wonder if that's an old level crossing post. Certainly a railway one. But while I'm standing here, let's take a look at that building there. Because that is the remains of the old Hodson's Mill, where they used to make Pride of Sussex flour. It was later taken over by Scats, the animal feeds people, and I think Grampian Foods then took them over and closed it in 1999. There's supposed to be grandiose plans for a housing development, yet I can't see much evidence of that, though we'll have a look in a minute. Interestingly enough though, I've been told that the water wheel is still there inside that building. Rather unusual that, I think, to have the water wheel inside the building, but there you go. Anyway, I'm really searching for bridges over the Rother, and here we are. We're in Robertsbridge, and this is the River Rother as it is here. Now, even allowing for silting up, it's hard to see how they could have got any real sizable boats up here. But it narrows a little bit there. As you see, it increases the speed of the flow. And that bridge there, the old bridge that will be rebuilt and renewed, that took the Rother Valley Railway, the Kentney Sussex Railway, or as my family always used to call it, the Dab and Tow, though I ain't heard anybody else say that, across the Rother, probably for the first time, and then to head along towards Bodrum. So that's its first bridge across the River Rother. I see another bridge up there. We can have a look at that. Hold the camera up, boy. Yes, There's Scats Mill. Not much sign of this wonderful new housing development, is there? Though I'm guessing that that new wall there has something to do with it. I wonder. All these bridges, but it's a bridge over nothing now. A bridge over nothing. So the flow of the Rother must definitely have been diverted or blocked off, and in recent times too. Although this bridge parapet probably dates from the 1800s, but there's nothing down there. Well, can you hear that? Let's stop there. There's another cuckoo. There is water in there. Oh, can I focus it? Don't think we're going to hear the cuckoo again. So that's a mystery. Two dried up watercourses, which I have seen on a map as supposedly being part of the river Rother. But the only one that seems active now is this one here. This is interesting. Gates here. Flood defences, I'm guessing. But the flow definitely starts again here, and that's quite some speed. Not so much speed here. Anyway, that's the Rother at Robertsbridge. I think I've just told you everything else that I can remember about Robertsbridge, so onwards we go. As you will have heard in the last little snippet, I think these bridges and the clappers, they asked more questions than I was able to answer. So I've been home and done a bit of research, and I need to answer these questions over the backs of some of these stills that I've took. Now, we're standing on the first bridge that you saw, and this is what you see when you look over the bridge towards the cricket ground. Looking at old maps of 1900 or so, doesn't actually show any watercourse on this side, but there were some major floods in the year 2000, and I'm wondering if this has always been what you might call a little catch pit, if you like, for water draining off this particular piece of land where the cricket ground now is, which the old maps show as being surrounded by, I don't know whether you call them drainage ditches or watercourses. But the strange thing is, 100-year-old maps do actually show a watercourse starting from this side of the road, which flows across and joins the Rother a little bit further down. So this little watercourse that we see through here does have a history, but this is all low-lying, very floodable land, and just in that top right-hand corner you can see one of the mounds that was built as part of the flood defences after the disastrous floods of 2000. Now this second bridge, it's a bit more difficult to assess because the 100-year-old maps do show a watercourse separate from the Rother, coming around what is now the top edge where you see that nice looking fence, coming around there, twisting round and coming underneath the roadway, roughly here where we're looking at it, and there certainly is water here. Now I don't know whether this land was raised for the cricket ground before the floods of 2000 or whether it's been raised even higher as a result. I can't find out, to be honest. I'm also wondering whether that watercourse has actually put into pipework here, but it rather looks as though it's, because if you follow the line of trees and what have you the other side of the fence, it's almost as if it's been kind of channeled round to the right and then tucks in back here to form this pool this side of the bridge. That's what it looks like to me anyway. I don't think there's any need to go back to the film of the Rother Bridge because it is what it is. It is the bridge over the River Rother. The only comment I would make is that where I refer to that new looking wall as being part of the development or the only bit of development of the mill area, I was wrong. It would appear from research I've done that actually that part of the wall is part of the flood defences since the floods of 2000, and that's a retaining wall to try and stop the river from flooding North Bridge Street, part of Robertsbridge. And in the videos you also saw the gates embedded in the roadway that will come up and block any floodwaters, hopefully, if they're ever needed. But this bridge here, a bridge over nothing. Yes, research into old maps shows that this was indeed the mill race, and it was known as the mill stream when it got to here. It seems that it originated from a pond at Bugsell Mill, which is some distance away to the west, and it was, I can only presume it had been constructed as a mill race because the channel came down through Hodson's Mill, probably underneath it because the water wheel is still there inside the building, and would have come out down here and flows into the Rother just before the Rother crosses underneath the new Robertsbridge bypass. But as you can see here on the first side of the road, there's absolutely nothing there today except a dry riverbed. And as I already said in the video, there is some water down there. You can see that in between this growth. That's all I really can say about this, is that once upon a time this was a teeming stream feeding a water mill and powering the mill and making flour and what have you. And now only really the name gives a clue as to what it was once for. And going back to this watercourse, you can see in the distance a bridge where the bypass crosses the floodplain. Now there are two bridges there. I didn't stop on them because it's a bypass, and even though it's still fairly early in the morning when I was filming, traffic was beginning to get a bit busy. I didn't feel it was safe to stop and there's nothing I can say about it really, except that the one you're looking at in the picture here was obviously built to carry this older watercourse and drainage ditches, I suppose it is now, underneath the road. The one just, which would be to the left of it as we're looking, was the one to carry the river Rother underneath it. However, when I drove across both of them, there did not appear to be water flowing through either, which only deepens the mystery, and I suppose could be the subject of an investigation if somebody wants to have a look. What is happening to the river Rother between here and its source further up in the hills? Because some parts of it are flowing, some parts of it are flowing quite quickly, other parts appear to be dried up, other parts appear to be stagnant ponds. What's happening to the Rother at this end? Is somebody damming it up? Have we got natural things damming it up and being left? I don't know. There's certainly some weird things seem to be going on with the river Rother at this point. But anyway, I now need to continue looking at my bridges, and so I will see you next at Junction Road.